Hello and welcome to Fall Through, your source for deep conversations about technology, software, and computing. I'm your host, Chris Brando, also known as Scriptable, and on today's episode, it's Matt and me again, but surprisingly, we have not one, but two guests. We're joined by Annie and Michael Hedgpeth, who are going to talk about the junior hiring crisis, AI relationships, AI and relationships, not AI relationships, and a whole bunch of other stuff. As per usual, we will have supporter content for our wonderful supporters, and if you're not a supporter, you should head on over to fallthrough.fm/subscribe and sign up today. If you're not following us on socials, please give us a follow there, and if you're on YouTube, do us a favor and hit that like button. And with that, let's get into the episode.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fall Through. Today we have Annie and Michael Hedgpeth. Annie and I actually worked together for what? 1, 2 years, 3 years? I don't even remember.
Is it 3?
3 years? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Time was a blur there because COVID and everything. Wow. Yeah. So Annie and I got the pleasure of working together. And I know when Annie left HashiCorp, she and her husband started People Work and has been working on that. So we're going to talk about all of that today. People work, relationships, junior hiring crisis, AI. So how are y'all doing today? How are you doing, Annie?
Good. So Matthew, if you remember, you onboarded me onto the Terraform Enterprise team. So that was pretty cool. And we were fast friends. And so this is cool to see you on the other side. We're just happy to be here.
The best part is we're not at work anymore. We can do whatever we want to do. This is fair game. I don't have to worry about a manager or something anymore. This is great. Michael,
I know. I do need to be careful not to slip into too much, work talk.
Oh yeah. No, I can't. Talk bad about previous places. I cannot.
But I wouldn't. I love that place. HashiCorp was such a great place to work. It's interesting though. I do want to talk about how startups change as they evolve and become public companies and, come different places to work. And it's just an interesting thing. So anyway.
Once that SEC filing goes in, it changes. Yeah.
Anyway.
And Michael, how are you?
Doing great. Glad to be here.
Nice. And Chris, I would ask you how you're doing, but I know how you're doing. You're doing great.
Of course I'm doing
We're
great.
all doing great. Yeah.
That's great. It's a new year. It's January.
New us.
New year, new us.
New me.
New
year,
nuance.
New year, nuance. So I want to kind of start with the junior hiring crisis blog post, because I know that I don't know if you co-wrote that, Annie and Michael. Annie's like, no, it's me.
I'm going to take full credit for that article.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So I know you have an article on People Work, people-work.io. On your blog, there's a post called The Junior Hiring Crisis. And I know that it made the rounds at Hacker News and Reddit and other places. And I know that I don't even know if you received any backlash or whatnot for it, but can you tell the listeners what that article is about and how it was received?
Yeah. I don't know if you want any background, what led up to that. Do you mind if I tell the whole story?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. We got time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
our listeners are probably unfamiliar with it. So I would like them to get the whole context and understanding of how it was published, what led to that, and then what happened.
Totally. So normally when I write a blog post, it's here's what I'm thinking. And it's a real quick, these are some thoughts. But this one was a long time in the making. So over the summer 2025, we were Michael, you start off with talking about sort of the career awakening that we were having, and then I'll talk about after that.
Yeah, so a little background for us. I am 25 years into tech, and Annie's 10 years into tech, and she's a career changer. And we were both going along in our career at great companies that we love and respect, but we were just frustrated with the fact that the people side of our jobs were the part that was limiting us and the people around us. And the people who achieved in corporations oftentimes was due to their people skills rather than just their technical skills. So I felt like in my job or in my jobs, I would show up and have great technical capabilities and contributions, and built teams that liked me. But for me, it was always like stakeholder management that was really hard. Like it felt for me like kissing up or creating a bad, like they don't need to talk to me. They just need to recognize my good work and be good with that. And so I could never achieve a balance or figure out what the right approach should be. And so we had these problems. We decided to start our own company, and we decided to start solving those problems. And we just started solving those problems for people like us, like just people in tech. And then
like, how do you take a systems approach to this problem instead of, because if you're not good at it, you need to figure out what you're good at and use that as a frame of reference. So that's kind of what we were thinking.
Yeah. So from a software perspective, we were just trying to build tooling to help you with your relationships at work. And so we went to Boulder Startup Week here in Boulder, Colorado, which is where we're from, or where we're at right now. And we ran into a professor at CU in Boulder, and we went and had lunch with him. And we were just telling him, we just want to get involved in the community and help, mentor some people, whatever. How can we help? And he was like, yeah, actually, students have this problem. And people coming out of college have this problem. You really should be looking at that. And we're like, I don't know. I mean, that's not really a group of people that we know. And we have a couple of college students ourselves. So we kind of know that audience, but that kind of sparked a journey that led to this blog post that Annie could lead us through. So we have dinner with Jeff. He's like, you should totally be looking at this. And then you want to take it from there, Annie?
Yeah. So, we were like, I don't know, like we had already validated like a couple of different markets, like within the engineering world. And so we were given the opportunity to join this startup group at CU Boulder called Venture Partners. They have this program called Starting Blocks where you can like validate a customer segment. And so we were like, well, why don't we use this to like validate the college student segment and see if that's something that we want to pursue. And so, so we went in thinking, okay, we're going to talk to a bunch of career services people, some deans, professors, students, et cetera. And then at the same time, these huge studies came out from Stanford and from Harvard talking about how AI is affecting junior hiring. And one of them said that junior hiring was down 13%. The other one said that among that age range, that early career folks from 20 to 25 in the AI adopting fields were experiencing greater unemployment, while senior hiring pretty much remained the same or even growing. And so all that to say that if you're a senior as an engineering student right now, you're probably a little nervous, And then also at the same time, there are all these like YouTubes of these CS grads saying that they're cooked, and how, oh my gosh, if you look up cooked or search for cooked on YouTube, you will see a gazillion videos. And like, I watched one of them and now like, that's all I'm getting. So anyway, there's a lot of them. A lot of them are scared. A lot of them don't know what to do.
Yeah, people are really frustrated.
Yeah, it is frustrating. So,
I was gonna say, it's interesting because like, when I taught at college for 6 years. And so I graduated high school right after like that 2008 sort of, downturn of the market. And when I graduated high school, people were like, worst career market ever. Like you can't get a job. And to an extent it was true because we literally crashed the market. Right. And then when I graduated college in like 2014, 2015 ish, like it was an okay market. But it was still like, you're still feeling the remnants of that 2008, like sort of downturn. And people were still like, oh, I hope you can get a job. But I haven't seen it as bad as it's been since after that 2022 sort of crash or turn down or whatever that really was. Was it from COVID? I don't really know what really caused it, but I haven't seen it this bad. So like I get the sentiment, and quite frankly, like I can't relate to it as much because obviously I'm no longer a student and I'm not a junior anymore. But I see it out there, and So this is what you're seeing. This is the messaging that you were
Yeah,
saying. Yeah,
exactly. And like I was asking all of those people, the students, the career services, the professors, et cetera, what are you doing about it? Like, how are you going to get in front of this problem? Like the problem exists. We both agree. They all agreed. Yes, we're nervous, blah, blah, blah. But what are you going to do about it? And so like, they were all like, oh, networking is key. You gotta meet people. You got to talk to them. You got to solve real life problems, et cetera. But like, still the hiring is going to be down, right? So there's a systemic issue where, okay, you can't make, just by networking, you can't make there be more jobs in the world, And so then I was like, in the article, I was thinking, okay, well, also, this didn't just start with AI. Like as the Dora report tells us, AI is an amplifier, right? So like the problem already existed and now AI is just amplifying this problem. And so I don't know if y'all read the Dora report from last year, but it was basically like AI is going to magnify your strengths and your clarity or your dysfunction. And so like and that's so true. Like, and in this instance, it's magnifying, I think, some dysfunction that is in engineering teams. Like the first one that I pointed out in the article was, and this was the one that I got some pushback from, especially in the Hacker News community, that there was a time where we said, okay, if an engineer wants to progress in their career, they have to be a manager, right? And then there was a point in time where we said, no, that's stupid. Like, you don't have to be a manager. Like, keep doing what you're doing because you're really good at it. Be an engineer and then just grow at the same level as an engineer, right? So that's how we got principal, staff, et cetera. People order them differently, but when we did that, we insinuated that senior engineers don't have a responsibility to mentor junior engineers. Like they're just off on their own. Just go off, do your own thing and, create amazing engineering things and don't worry about anything else. You're just in your own little bubble. But that's not true. I mean, It is true in practice, but it shouldn't be because what they're doing is they're breaking the apprenticeship ladder. And the pushback that I got on Hacker News was like, oh, I don't want to sit there and do performance reviews and, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you have to meet with this junior every 2 weeks or whatever. And I was like, no, I don't, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about pair programming with them and teaching them what you know. And actually, me and Michael were talking about this yesterday, and he had some really cool ideas of how you can do this within the context of AI. Michael, you should share some of that. About how juniors.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
just yeah. I'll come back to the
I do want
story
to talk
in a
about
second.
that. I do want to talk about that, but I mean, I experienced what Annie was saying when I was at my previous role at Splunk. I was a senior manager. I was working with principal engineers. I was the people person. They were the tech person. And that separation was nice as a primary hat to have on. Like I would, keep people happy. I would basically do the performance review cycle. I would align people, etc. But then also I needed to know the tech. The managers who are there and just kind of have a blank mind and checking off boxes are terrible. I as a manager, I hated working with those people. So I needed to be into the tech. And then when I worked with the principal engineers and I was doing performance stuff, I brought them to the meetings that was about performance. I was like, how is it working with this person? And that's a people question, but like oftentimes and most times they had the best feeling for how people were doing on their day to day because they were engaging into the technical output of the team more. And so like blending those two things is really important. And we think that the separation, Annie's point was that the separation is kind of what gets us into this junior hiring crisis, because people haven't been thinking of engaging in others as a primary job that they have, when we think it really is for everybody.
The other issue that I did get some pushback on too was they were like, this is just an issue of capitalism as well. And I'm like, yeah, I get that too, because like there was a slow roll of like the breakdown between trust between the employee and the company, where in short. Like, if they're going to lay me off at the drop of a hat, then I don't feel any loyalty to them. And so I'm not going to stay there for very long. I might just only stay there for 2 years so that I can get a pay bump, at the next place and all that. And so like, there were some issues caused by the breakdown of trust between employees and companies that also kind of contributed to that. And so, like I said, you can't blame it all on one thing, but you can see that AI is amplifying the issue. And like, if we just rest in the fact that, AI is taking away junior jobs and whatever, maybe AI will catch up soon enough so that it can replace all engineering jobs, and we won't need the juniors to be trained up at, and replace the seniors in 10 or 20 years. Like, AI can do it or whatever. I mean, I just don't think that's going to happen. But also, you're really banking on this timing. Like, are you sure that that's a pretty big gamble? You know what I mean? And so like, I don't think that it's a healthy gamble to be taking, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you also have people that are going to naturally want to retire or just not do this work anymore, right? You get older and you're like, I'm good. I'm ready to stop doing this. And you need other people, whether or not they're new to the field or whatever, you need younger people to take that up and to be the next generation of things. And it's interesting because I read the career matrices. Sorry, I can't English sometimes. It's okay. And I've read them for different companies, and you see it in that staff principal, whatever, again, whatever ordering you have, but beyond the senior engineer, to reach those levels, they do like very much focus on the technical contributions of that role. And there might be like a line item of like mentorship or influence of other peers, but it's not the primary thing that's going to get you promoted, right? So if you're optimizing for promotion to staff plus, you're probably not going to spend that time mentoring people and creating that sort of pathway. You're probably just going to spend time re-architecting the code base to do whatever and show like a business value. And I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's kind of where you're getting at with that whole like breakdown. And then AI further amplifies that.
Yeah, but exactly. I would argue I'd argue though that's a little bit of short-sighted, because if you're trying to be a staff engineer and at a larger company, you're going to create an outcome that goes across teams. You're going to be interacting with people. Like, if you come up with something dumb and you get promoted for it, then you're at a bad company. And I've seen that happen at every company I've been at too. So I guess, it's a common thing, and people do game that system. But also, once people get promoted and they gamed the system, they're kind of in a role that they're not really ready for. And so like, technical outcomes really involve people outcomes too. It's not just writing the code. You've got to write code that matters, that solves a problem, that has a business outcome if you're in a business, No,
I agree. And if you write something that's technically like excellent, but nobody's using it or it's not really solving a user problem, that's not impactful. So like, off the bat, that's not something that should qualify you for that promotion. And like, I've seen companies, like, again, they have this sort of middle management layer that can be quite useless sometimes. And that's a problem, but we don't ever really talk about the staff level engineers that can be quite useless in a sense too. We've always focused it on like, people managers are a waste of time, but we have some staff engineers that probably shouldn't be staff engineers. Let's be real, right? Like,
well, they're not incentivized.
Yeah.
They're not incentivized to invest in the younger or the people coming up. And so maybe they just need a little inspiration,
Yeah. I mean, I'm someone that I like to pair program. I like to share that context with my team, and I like to make sure that my team is unblocked. So I wear kind of many hats here at Oxide, both like that sort of staff engineer hat, both from like you do work yourself, but also you unblock people and share context. And it's, to me, I like that work because I guess the realization for me personally, and maybe this is true to other people, is I, as one human, can only do so much, right? If I sit down and write code, I can just output this much code or this much progress. And with AI, sure, I can extend that to some extent, And maybe that's why people feel like they can keep doing the thing they're doing because they have more capacity. But at some point, I'm going to reach the limits of what I can do as one person. So I have to kind of change my tune a little bit and say, hey, I have teammates now. Let me sort of like influence them and lead them and guide them and learn from them. And now the output is not just one person being Matthew, it's one person plus N number of teammates, right? So now like my output is doubled or tripled because I've extended my teammates the ability to do this good work as well. And I feel like that's the lens people aren't always looking through. And that's where he kind of stops, in my opinion.
Yeah, and back to that staff and staff plus engineer ladder, like I think a lot of it when you're at a bigger tech or big tech type of environment, it kind of comes across like university tenureship. Is that what you call it? Getting tenure at a university? It's like you're not paid to create business outcomes. You're paid to be clever and to have the best technical understanding and opinions and be thinking out of the box and be that, great intellectual within the company. And there are things about all of those things that are very valuable. And I like to be that person too. But I think, even the word distinguished engineer kind of rubs me the wrong way. Where what are you? I'm distinguished. It's like there's this sort of level of untouchability of some of the air of that as you get at a larger company. And I think that that's kind of poisonous to a culture and a business if it's taken in the wrong direction. I also think that just the business people running it and saying, ship it, I don't care, it's good, the customers just wants this, that's bad too. And I think that's what we were trying to get away from when we got into all that stuff. But like you're saying, like you can't scale yourself. This isn't an intellectual journey, primarily speaking. If you want that, then go be a professor at a university. This is about solving a problem with a bunch of people to create an outcome that's valuable, and that valuable outcome includes good, solid software that's shippable, et cetera.
Well, and if we're going back to the root cause of everything is like shareholder value, right? So like, how do you make the company more valuable? Whether it's, a public company or not or whatever, or if you have shareholders, but how do you make apprenticeship and mentorship valuable? It's because teaching forces clarity. And if Dora is right, which they usually are, AI amplifies clarity. So like it's a win-win. Your company is going to have more velocity, more, good solutions, better business outcomes if you have clarity, and you can get clarity by investing in juniors. Like I know it's a very simple equation, but I really do believe that it's true.
I think you brought up something earlier, Annie, that really struck me about like AI really exacerbating or showing the kind of systemic issues at companies or like the structural issues. And I think that is like at the core of a lot of these problems is that most tech companies are just designed from an organizational standpoint terribly, right? You have all of these like, oh, juniors, like what even... I've asked this question for years. I'm like, what even is a junior? Like, what is it that makes somebody a junior engineer? What is it that makes them go up that ladder? And it's like different at every company. And there's all of these matrices that give us this idea of, hey, there's this ladder you can climb. But when you actually look at them, you're like, all of this is subjective. Like every single one of those ladders I've looked at, it's like, well, how many of these things do you have to meet? Do you have to meet all of them or only some of them? Who gets to decide which of these things you actually have to do? And then of course, all of the social ones are like extremely subjective. And we're all like, it gives the appearance of like some sort of fixed set of things you need to do to move up the system, but it's not fixed at all. And it's also just like not how software engineering or really any type of engineering works at the end of the day. Like the idea that like, oh, you're a junior engineer, so you can't have cross-team impact, or you shouldn't be looking at cross-team things, or we have to train you up before you can look at cross-team things is like pretty silly in my opinion. It's like, I don't know, let people go do what they're good at. Let people focus on the type of skills they want to have. You know, some people just want to look at a singular code base and that's all they want to work on. Some people want to look across many code bases. Some people want to do more organizational level software engineering where they're helping empower other people. And there's like no space in our current ladder of engineering for that. Hello, viewer/listener. Welcome to the supporter, or I guess extended chapters preview segment. Not really sure what we're going to call this yet, but this is the segment where we put all of our previews of the extended chapters. If any of these previews pique your interest, like you're like, oh, I really want to listen to that, and you're already a supporter, you should head on over to the extended feed where you can switch over to the extended episode. You can just start listening at chapter 6. And if you're not a supporter and you're interested in any of these chapters, you should go to fallthrough.fm/subscribe and sign up, where you'll get access to the extended feed for all of our extended editions. And when you hear this sound, that means we're switching between the previews. Each preview is about 20 to 30 seconds. If you want to listen to these, then you can just skip ahead to the next chapter. And with that, here are the previews. And it's like this structure is not serving us, and it's certainly not serving us in the AI era. And I think like AI is really showing like, hey, we need to rethink how we structure everything and what's actually important at the end of the day.
The next level is everything. Those people are really well respected here, and it's kind of I think the wrong game. I mean, it's one of the things about my previous role that I regret the most is how much I cared about getting promoted. And then when I left, it's like, that actually didn't matter that much. Why did I care so much?
I'm doing all the things, I'm there, but you don't really have a benefit from it. You know, like, okay, you went to 20 meetings this week. Good for you. What does that mean? You don't have any relational intelligence from it. Or maybe you do, or maybe you don't. But it could be that you went to a bunch of meetings and it didn't mean anything. So how are you going to get any sort of observability from those meetings and know how you're doing with these people, what you need, what they need, and how to, be more effective? I was like, oh my God, if Michael has to go into the database and fix something, he's going to see like what I wrote about him.
Yeah, we had a React, just ground people though with where we were at. We had a React app that had a Postgres database. We were doing this system in a web app, at a website with auth and everything. Everything was set up, and then
it was done.
It was a schema issue or something like that. And I was like, I need to go investigate this. Select star from journal entries.
There's people that really, really, really care about people's growth. But I just think that most of them are missing the mark. I don't think that they realize that they're inhibiting growth. And I will get the bravery to say that to their faces one day. But they are powerful people.
But until then, I'm writing it down so I won't forget. Yeah.
Until then, I'm just going to make an app and get around this.
Yeah.
No, but honestly...
Like if you know that Slack is being crawled by AI and anything you say is going to put you on some report of who are the people who might hate this company or who are the snarky ones, then like that, then you're not going to talk on Slack. You're not going to be your true self. So you're managing this layer, and we all do it. I guess that's part of being a human, but you're managing this layer that's not true. And then you never really get to where you are. And rather than like write more of the React app, it's like we started thinking, what if we just did something more technical? Like take that power and point it in a good direction rather than just like write another SaaS app. Like let's write a privacy DSL based in Rust, on the machine fast, app that will do that same thing.
Well, viewer/listener, I hope you enjoyed those previews of our extended chapters. And with that, let's just get back into the show.
There's a tactical side and a strategic side. So what I said, finding that one person that just went through it, that's very tactical, like hands-on. What do I need to be doing at this point? What's some good advice, etc. But also what Michael's talking about is you do need to have a well-rounded network as well. And that doesn't mean having 500 people on your LinkedIn. That means having, a handful of people, maybe 10 people that you've met at a meetup, or if maybe it's a professor, or maybe it's a classmate that's, in your same major or whatever. And you're investing in those relationships. And we always talk about how it's important to have the 4 different groups represented in your network. So you need the people to guide. It's always important to have somebody that you're guiding, somebody that you're providing leadership to, because that, like I said earlier, gives you clarity on how to do things. And then people to align with, those are the people that you look to for leadership. And then the people to partner with, those are your peers, your equals, people that you're collaborating with. And then your broader network, like people that you have shared values with, that you want to contribute to this cultural context with. And so like if you have this well-rounded network, then that's your strategical side. You're sort of always looking for opportunities and you're always trying to contribute. We always talk about having a give first mentality. Like it's not, I met these really, this is kind of a precious example, but I was at a meetup once and these 2 engineering or CS grads came up to me and they were basically like, it was a very short conversation, like, hi, I'm so-and-so and I'm looking for a job. And I'm like, oh, like, I know you need a job. And I know that's like, you're trying to do the things, you're getting out there, you're, doing something uncomfortable, going up to a stranger at a meetup, but that's not how you do it. You gotta build a relationship, ask about what my problems are, get curious about the problems that I'm solving and maybe offer, your experiences or whatever, and just have a natural, authentic relationship and conversation. And then maybe opportunities will come from that. But, so anyway, learning the nuance and the skill of this people work side of things, I think is really important, which is what we're trying to help people do. But I don't know if that answers your question.
This is good. I want to quickly touch on the partnership aspect, and then I want to talk more about people work, actually. I think the partnership aspect is something students often overlook. So part of the value of being in a university and having peers is that you have peers, right? Like you're in a cohort of 30 or so students going through the curriculum, and sure, the goal is to learn the curriculum, but you should also like turn sideways and talk to your peers that are next to you in the classroom and see where they came from, see what they're thinking about this. Not to like share in misery of the job market being bad. That's not what I'm saying, but although that is helpful sometimes, right? To kind of have some people to vent to, but also just to like say, hey, listen, here's what I'm doing. Here's what works. Here's what's not working. What are you doing? And compare and contrast. And you'll learn a lot just from turning to your peers and working with them. But also there can be a lot of bad habits that aren't corrected yet there. So you have to be vigilant, right? Don't just blindly trust your peers either, because you can get to this like, you can recycle all these bad habits too. So just a food for thought.
Also, opportunities can come out of it. I mean, look at Mitchell and Armand from HashiCorp. They were classmates, right? Yeah. They were classmates. When I was in film school, like we all got each other jobs, like everybody in my class, we were all very scrappy and we were all like, hey, I'm going to go be a PA on this job. You want to join? We were a network and we helped each other out and we built trust among each other so that it led to opportunities. I think that you should see your classmates as your coworkers, really. Yeah.
And you can find some, God tier developer like Kris, who is very, very experienced, even when we were in the student, in the student age, and then if I found you, Kris, it'd be great. Ting. Sorry, you have to think this.
Come on,
I tried,
Matt.
Kris.
So close.
I was so close. I tried. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. I know we could talk about this probably for a very long time, and time just seems to slip while we're on the recording. So I want to talk about what you all are doing. You have people work now, and this relates into this sort of like, we're talking about AI, we're talking about relationships, and people work is kind of at the center of that because you really care about building your relationships and nurturing them. So why don't you, either Michael or Annie, whoever you think is best to introduce people work, and just describe what you're all doing there and why'd you start this company?
Michael, you want to do it or you want me to give it a shot?
Go ahead.
So People Work helps you to maintain the 10 to 20 close professional relationships in your network so that you can have the biggest impact. Y'all do unpopular opinions, right? And so this is not my unpopular opinion, but an unpopular opinion is that networking is super gross and that it's just for selfish gain, and that, you shouldn't try to game your relationships for your own personal gain. And I agree. I don't think you should do that either. But at the same time, we work in an environment where if your stakeholder doesn't know what you're working on, you're not going to get very far. If you're a senior engineer and you don't see that you have anybody to guide, anybody in your guide group, then you're going to be one of those senior engineers that's breaking down the apprenticeship ladder. If you're a senior engineer and you're working on a project that you think is really important, but you haven't shared it cross team yet or enough, you don't have that network beyond your immediate team, and you're not sharing these values and building this cultural context with other people, then they're not going to see the importance of it. And so you're not going to get your project picked up. All of these things are ways in which we've sort of failed, or we can fail. I personally have failed in all of those ways. But I've recognized that the reason is because I've failed in people work, not in technical work, And so sometimes this is just the missing piece to help you to get further along in your career. So People Work is an app that is Mac OS only right now, but we're building out support, and it helps you to manage those relationships. Does that answer in a nutshell?
Yeah. No, it does. And we can go in, I'll go into it more, obviously. I did want a quick tangent. The visibility aspect is super important. You are correct. Your relationships are all around you, and you shouldn't just use them as a means to an end, but also you should be nurturing them because they do have benefits, even if your goal is to not utilize the benefits directly. And you gave the example of if your stakeholders don't know what you're working on, it's not really that valuable, is it? And I think I might have told you this when you joined HashiCorp and when I was onboarding with you, or helping you onboard, that since HashiCorp was a full-time remote company, it's important to be vocal in the Slack channels. It's important to just poke in over there, say hello, say what you're working on, ask for a review in a public channel, not a DM with people. Because then if you keep things in the public, that's how you stay visible. That's how people remember that you even exist. And that's how relationships can be built, because you see oh, Matthew and Annie are chatting in the public channel here. So you're showing oh, it's safe to chat in this public channel, and Matthew and Annie are having this relationship here and working through things. This is great. And that's that's been a sort of good advice thing that I've been giving to people, and it works well. And some people take it and some people don't. I see some people where they still stay quiet and hidden, and then they wonder why they get skipped for promotions. It's well, nobody knows what you're doing. I don't even know what you're doing, and I talk to you. Right? So yeah.
Yeah, part of what got us to start this was the observation around the dinner table. It's we're talking about somebody at work. We were asking, how in the world did this person get that role? And that's a conversation we've all had over drinks with the people that we trust, or with the spouse or whatever. How did this person get that role? And a lot of times it's due to being able to work the human system within a company.
And maybe they're just really good at, maybe you only see that they're bad technically or whatever, but maybe they're really good at communicating value to stakeholders or whatever. Yeah. And you don't see that part of it.
Yeah. And so what we're trying to do is just create a system using an engineering mindset. And Annie was working on Terraform. I was working at Splunk. And I've been in cloud engineering and DevOps for a long time, using that system automation mentality, and how do we make the right thing to do, the easy thing to do from a systemic perspective, so that a normal person who's not so naturally gifted in stakeholder management, for example, I'm terrible at stakeholder management, and that kind of more normal person can kind of bring together the skills that you need to do to be successful and kind of even the playing field a little bit more.
So if I decide to use macOS and I want to use PeopleWork,
we may have Linux support at some point. We don't know.
We actually do have an Arch Linux build, Matthew.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so I have to use that then. I'm only joking with you. Obviously, I don't hate macOS. Okay, I swear. Kris is like, I'm gonna edit that so hard and be like, Matt hates it. No. So if I want to use PeopleWork, what's my experience looking like? How am I interacting with this app? What am I doing there? What are the actions I'm taking? What's my experience look like?
Well, you would first onboard all of your people. It's a desktop app, local storage, so it's totally private. It's just you. There's no web interface, so you can sort of be as vulnerable as you want in it. So you would onboard you would enter in all of your contacts in there, 10 or 20 or so. And then you would put them in those groups that I talked about: align, guide, partner, and network. And then there's a policy-driven system in PeopleWork where if you don't have an intention set for someone, then we'll tell you, hey, you got a task due that you need to create an intention for this person. And what that means is, what do you want to do with this relationship? Do you want to meet for a one-on-one every week? Do you want to go for coffee once a quarter with this person? Do you want to just make sure to remember that you made a commitment to this person to get them a project report by 2 weeks from now, whatever it is? And then whenever you complete that commitment, if it's not a recurring one, it'll say, oh, you got to make an intention for this person again. And it's not annoying. Like, it's not like you have to do this. This is your thing. HR's not telling you to do it. Your manager's not telling you to do this. This is you trying to be intentional with your relationships and with your connections. And so if, 2 weeks rolls around and you didn't get the project report to somebody, then you know what? Just, that's communication for yourself. That's data for yourself that says, oh, well, it looks like I dropped the ball on that. Well, maybe let's just reschedule it for next week. Whatever, there's grace. It's just you and your relationships. So what I like about it is that there's no pressure. This is just like your own little journal, your own little diary. So then let's say you and I have a one-on-one and I record it in PeopleWork. I would put 3 important things. So this is good data, good observability. What happened? So just the facts, right? We talked about this project, Matthew's going on PTO next week.
You're damn right I am.
I might want to put things to remember. Matthew's having a baby girl,
Keep going. Yeah.
And then, projects on track, blah, 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 whatever, facts. And then in the feelings, then I would put a sentiment, thumbs up, thumbs down, neutral. Do I think it went well? So I'll give it a thumbs up. It went really great. And then I put the feelings. So then I can say, things went really well with Matthew today. I feel like we're really connecting. I feel like for this project, we're going to really get things done. It's going to be on time because we're on the same page, feelings. And then I submit it. And so then over time, you get this heat map, right? Where you can see, things have gone really well with Matthew.
It's funny too. We all think about this, I think, during the holidays. Like, you all have that message you want to send, happy holidays, everyone. And, you have a list of people in mind where you want to cultivate the relationship and make sure that you kind of rise to the top in their inbox and be like, hey, I didn't forget about you. Hope you didn't forget about me. And Kris and I, obviously, we do this podcast. So we frequently talk to one another and then we text each other. But then it's easy to be like, you know what? I'm not going to text Kris Happy New Year because I just spoke to him and he's at the top of my mind. So because it's funny, right? Because
everyone wants a Happy New Year text. Okay.
No,
Everyone
I know.
It.
And I'm the bad person here. But in my mind, I'm sending it as a more hey, I haven't reached out to this person in a while. Let me let them know that I still remember this relationship. And for example, Kris, I didn't have that thought with you because our relationship has been, we're at the top of each other's inbox essentially already. So there was no I need to go reach out to Kris to remember, like, so he remembers that I remember him. Like, I just spoke to him yesterday. But like, that's also a problem, right? Because you should be maintaining that relationship better. And yeah, I can think just for my personal self, like, of areas where this is helpful to like manage my relationships better. And intent, I think, is the important word here. It shows an intent of, you have to say, hey, what do I really want out of this relationship? And opening the app and having it be private and local first shows that intentionality where it's like, hey, I have to sit down and like think about this rather than just like, drive by, put an update in. Right. And I appreciate that too.
Yeah, that's what that whole relational intelligence thing is all about. And so, like, to go back to our evil Matthew example,
who doesn't exist.
Who doesn't exist. Matthew is a wonderful person. But, in this alternate universe, let's say that in one of those, thumbs down meetings that I had, one of those red meetings that I had with the evil Matthew, it's because I knew that he sent a Happy New Year's text to everyone else except for me, even though we see each other every day.
Kris, please tell me if this is how you feel, okay?
I do think you said Happy New Year to me, so.
Okay, good. Oh, thank God.
And so, but on evil Matthew's end of it, evil Matthew would be like, why is Annie like so withdrawn in these meetings, And then he can look back and see it's because... So I put a thumbs down, but it's because, we weren't, I just had an oversight and I didn't let her know that, I wasn't empathetic in that moment or whatever. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about was like how it builds awareness of what people are feeling.
Yeah. And, did you want to say something, Matthew?
No, go for it. Go.
Yeah. The privacy thing of that's kind of an interesting rabbit hole if we want to go down it for a second.
Yeah, I totally want to talk about the privacy thing. I have one more question about sort of the general aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And you kind of answered this already, but I want to be more explicit so that listeners can be like, oh, okay, I get it. So like, who exactly is this for, right? Who should look at people work and be like, hey, you know what? I do have relationships I want to manage better. And like, I'll give this a go. Like, who are you targeting?
Right now, we're targeting people that are onboarding because I think that, as I just said, that it could be a really nice use case for them. New managers are so overwhelmed because they go and they ask older managers like, oh, what do you do? And then these older managers, they've just got, oh my gosh, a gazillion Google Docs and spreadsheets and whatever. And they somehow have it all in their mind, but they're like, this is insane. Oh my gosh, I can't. Okay. And so they're trying to keep up. And so to have a single place to look at all of that is really helpful. Of course, like anyone could use it, like you could use it to maintain your relationships at your whatever, gym if you wanted to, So like it's a very generic app. It doesn't care where you work. But those are the two main ones that we have in our heads as we're developing it. And the reason that those are our first two target markets, and specifically engineering teams, is just because that's who we know. We could have worked in real estate and made it for them, but like I still think like a realtor could use it. Actually, they're probably using CRMs, but for their but they would use it for their like personal relationships, like building professional relationships. But we really thought that using engineers as our main target.
If I'm using PeopleWork, right? I'm using the app, and in the like pathological example, PeopleWork goes away or something. Do I lose all my data? What happens to the data?
It stays on your computer.
I know it's on my computer, but is it accessible to me? Is it like some binary format? Is it encrypted? Is it like text files like Obsidian? Like how does that look to me?
Michael, go ahead.
She gave you the nod.
We wrote a DSL that's in clear text that is parsed out as we're running the app, kind of inspired by HCL a little bit. So if you know Terraform, you'll be at home with this. So we couldn't totally do Markdown because we weren't comfortable with some of the rules that we had to enforce. And technically you could have done Markdown, but we wanted like the feelings and the observations, which are kind of two Markdown fields in one file. So it's a file in clear text that we parse out. We're going down the path of like, maybe that's not good for some people. Maybe some people want an encrypted file, and because their company might be snooping on them. So we're thinking about those kinds of things. But for now, we want it to be your data is your data. We want the core value of our system is honesty and vulnerability with privacy, and that we will deliver that with no hesitation. Like that's something that we won't get away from.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So right now it's, use at your own risk on your company computer because it is in clear text. But we're hoping that, if you do know that your company uses surveillance, then just use it on your personal computer. And like, you wouldn't be keeping your company data on it. These are just your notes, just like you would, keep a journal or whatever. So I don't believe that it breaks any privacy, like company privacy policies, but that's like something that each individual user would need to like look up their own policies on that. So
yeah, it's like if I have a physical notebook and I write something down, like who's coming to my house to check on that. Yeah, I get you.
Right.
And if people want to use People Work, where can they find you? If they want to talk to you about the blog posts, hopefully not berate you about it, but hopefully talk to you about it.
No, bring it. That's okay.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm ready to fight people. Okay.
No, I'm just ready to clarify. That's all.
Where can people find more about People Work?
People-work.io. Every time I tell that to somebody really technical, they're like, the dash. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry.
We didn't
anyway, one of these days I'll buy with no dash. Anyway, people-work.io. I'm on LinkedIn, obviously, Annie Hedgpeth, no E after the G. I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky, but I can't do those anymore. I try, but I just can't. I'm on Instagram. I'm probably on Instagram more than Blue Sky and Twitter. At Annie with a Plan on Insta. I do some YouTube at People Work in our People Work channel, and they can just email me at contact@people-work.io.
Perfect. Michael, anything to add?
I think Annie listed all of our channels.
I know, he's like, just have them call her.
Yeah. Go to Annie. She'll
I'm just trying to get this thing to compile right now.
Yeah. I hear that. All right, let's move into unpops then.
Or we should go to break, but...
Oh, we can go to break.
We can do unpops in break. That's what we'll do.
Let's do unpops in break. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so while Kris does, let him do his outro, and then we'll go.
So viewer/listener, how'd you like that conversation? Kind of want to hit all of the topics we wanted to hit, a little bit of what's it like to be a junior, how do you get a job, all the way through a modern, privacy local first application, which is, really refreshing. But let us know your thoughts, in the YouTube comments and social media, or in the changelog Zulip or Gopher Slack. This episode of Fall Through was hosted by Matthew Sanabria with co-hosts Chris Brando and guests Annie Hedgpeth and Michael Hedgpeth. Fall Through is produced by Chris Brando and Angelica Hill, and our beats are by Breakmaster Cylinder. Perfect. Okay, Matt, you're good to go.
I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
Okay, I got through it.